Y'all, let's make some scrunchies with my leftover Turkish towel projects that I'm making my seaside totes from. So I have a lot of extra fabric and I want to make some, they're beach towel scrunchies. I'm going to show you how. Really easy. I have to give credit to a Block Therapy quilt shop in Goshen, Mississippi, because that is where I learned how to make these, and I use the donut method. This is great for beginners, by the way. Okay, here's some of my leftover fabric. It is about 27 inches by 6 inches. That is a good size for a oversized scrunchie. So first we are going to take our fabric and put it wrong sides together. However, both of these sides work. So I'm just telling you, in case you use a different kind of fabric, you want to put wrong sides together, fold it in half like this. Now I'm taking my edge that is folded right here, my raw edges, and I'm going to run a zigzag stitch along the short side right here. Just like that. You do not have to do a zigzag stitch. However, I'm doing that because this fabric, obviously it frays a lot. So it's going to help it in that process. Now, you may need to pause and rewind and rewatch this part because it looks crazy, but it's not. This is where the donut method comes in. So here's my fabric. I'm still turned wrong side out. Here's my seam right here. I am going to lay my seam, lay it down flat just like this. Now I'm going to take these 2 points of my raw seam right here that I just made, fold them together and just kind of overlap them, and they are going to sit in the middle of this while we sew up these corners. So let me show you that again. You've got your inside right here and you're going to fold it and it comes the inside of the donut, and I promise it's going to work out in the end. And then you're going to meet up these edges right here, and since I have lines on my fabric, I'm lining up my edges of the green and the white. So I'm going to line up these edges, and then I'm going to start sewing a zigzag stitch this way too. You can use a straight stitch if you're using regular fabric. Okay, here I am. Let me just show you the inside of here. I've got my one layer is folded up in here, and I'm folding this edge over, and I'm lining up this edge. All right, and then I am going to zigzag stitch this, and I'm going to let you watch the whole process and watch me pull through the fabric. All right, pausing here because you want to make sure that you do not stitch in this stuff, the stuff that's on the inside. If it gets caught in there, then you kind of have to rip everything out and start over. All right, I'm stopping here. Make sure your needle is down. All right, and then I'm going to start to pull this fabric through the middle. I'm holding with my left hand in the back here, just kind of holding it tight and pulling the middle through, just like this. And I'm going to continue to fold this over and leave that middle in there. The middle is going to become the outer. I think some people call this I keep calling it the donut method. I think it's also called the hot dog method. Pausing with my needle down, I'm pulling more through. Lining up my edges, and I like to make sure my seam is lined up right here. We're about to cross over that. Again, I started feeling this creeping up into my seam, so I'm going to reach in there and push it out of the way. I'm going to keep going until I meet my other edge. Okay, let me show you here. Here is where I started. It's starting to flip through and be on this side. And so I'm gonna get it a little bit closer. All right, now I'm ready to backstitch and close off, cut my thread, and then you see how I have where I started right here and where I ended right here. You're gonna pull your whole tube through like this. All right, so now all of your seams are on the inside. So there's our first seam, and then here's our donut seam. And we still have an opening right here. So this is where we are going to feed our elastic through. And then we are going to close this up just like that. All right, now for the fun part. I hate dealing with elastic, but I do it anyways. I'm going to cut a strip of elastic. I just got this from Hobby Lobby. It comes in a pack like this and it's $2.99. You can get it from your local quilt shop, wherever, fabric store. I cut mine to about 9 inches, not stretched. That gives me a little bit of room to tie it. And you can make these smaller or larger depending on what size wrist they go on or how tight you want your scrunchie to be. 9 inches is sort of like the magic number for me. All right, first we're using a bodkin. All right, you can use a clip, a safety pin, whatever you want. So I just tightened my bodkin on one end of this. And before I get started, I'm gonna take a clip, you can use a safety pin, and I'm going to take the other end and clip it to my fabric right here so it doesn't get lost when I start feeding this through. So I'm gonna go ahead and feed this all the way through. Okay, now I'm coming out the other end. So I'm not trying to pull really tight just yet because I don't want to pull the whole loop through. So I'm going to grab this edge, go ahead and release the bodkin and grab my other edge, take that clip off holding both edges like this. Now I'm going to like squish it down like this, and I'm going to do a loop knot around like this. I find that this kind of knot holds up really well, and I'm going to just pull it tight like that, cut off any extra bulk and let it settle in there. Now you got to close this up. So what you're going to do is pull it tight, fold those little edges in, and I'm going to use a zigzag stitch again just because this fabric tends to fray, and I'm going to zigzag stitch that close and I'll show you. There is my little zigzag stitch. Just make sure you don't get your elastic tucked in there. And you guys, we're done. I'm just cutting off my little extra strings, just like this. How cute is this? This is really cool because it's made out of the Turkish towel material. So like if you're going swimming and you get out of the pool, you can throw your hair back up with one of these and it'll kind of absorb the wetness. But anyways, it is such a super easy project to make because it's so forgiving for beginners. You can't really mess these up. Like if your seams aren't straight and stuff, nobody's gonna see that because they're scrunched. Anyways, I'm trying to make a bunch of these just to add as little bonuses to my last bulk, like pre-order run that I'm about to send out. Includes sunscreen pouches and all of these tote bags that I've made. Here's a pink scrunchie, so cute, pink, blue, and teal. Okay, I hope you try it. Bye.